Thank you very much, Sister Chair, colleagues at the head table, sisters and brothers all, good afternoon. And thank you very much for coming out this afternoon on a Saturday, a couple of weeks before Carnival. It does demonstrate, as Mr. Pandey had said, that there are many people in this country who are deeply concerned about the crisis in our nation. In my New Year's message 2014, I said that as a theme, a nation without vision and hope will certainly perish. That's a paraphrase, of course, from the biblical injunct that a nation or people without vision will perish. Today in Trinidad and Tobago, I'm certain that the majority of the people would agree that we are indeed perishing in many respects. When we see the horrific crimes that have been reported in the press over the last several months, when we witness the abuse of women and children in particular, when we see important green spaces like the Arangas and Takariba savannas being threatened with concrete and buildings, workers and farmers under pressure and under attack, communities being destroyed or threatened to be destroyed by highways that are really being constructed to facilitate the corruption that Rami spoke about. When we are faced with the impact of international shame, with drug trafficking and Section 34 and other matters like that, we are indeed perishing. It cannot be business as usual in 2014. If it is business as usual, then in 2015 our lament will be worse than it is today, and so it will go on, as Mr. Pandey correctly said. Vision and hope, though, require leadership. And the crisis of leadership in our country, which has been a crisis of leadership for very many decades, has resulted in our institutions being in collapse. Our institutions, not just Trinidad and Tobago, but regionally, from West Indies cricket, which is in collapse, to the point where it pains us or it's too difficult to stay up in the night to listen to cricket, to hear a side being all out for 95 or 100 or whatever it is. To the Integrity Commission, once again, collapsing. All our institutions are in collapse. But we can't fix these institutions. We can't address the Constitution, which I agree with Mr. Pandey, has to be reformed fundamentally so that we can have strong institutions. We can't fix the institutions and the Constitution without strong visionary leadership in Trinidad and Tobago. And the conundrum, the difficulty that we find ourselves in is that we're between that rock and a hard place. Because when we look around, what is on popular offer does not provide a leadership that is visionary and strong, and that therefore could offer hope of real fundamental change. Only a leadership that is prepared to build a movement of people conscious and committed to struggle to fight to bring about that change can, in fact, offer hope for Trinidad and Tobago. In 2010, leadership and vision was built on a word I heard in the campaign, optics. What is optics? Optics is how it could look. Optics is lining up the chairs on the head table, Indian, African, man, woman, and so on. So when the photograph is taken, or the television camera frame focuses on that point, it looks good. That is what leadership and vision was predicated on, by those who controlled, not by those who were supporters and so on, or some of us who wanted to bring about change, but by those who really controlled that process. It was built on optics, on illusion, how it could look, not on substance. And like every illusion, ultimately, it cannot be believable. And so, more rapidly than any other government in the history of this country, it ceased to be believed in, because you can't believe in an illusion unless perhaps you're an infant child who has not had the experience of life. Those who are in control of government saw office, public office, for private gain, for corruption, for self, for family, for friend. They did not see public office to be used for public good. What kind of leadership, therefore, do we need today? We need strong leadership. And by strong leadership, I don't mean strong armed leadership. I don't mean leadership that is top down, that tells you what to do, and who don't like it could get the hell out of here. Strong leadership, however, has to be a leadership that is strong in belief, and we haven't talked about ideology. Has to have an ideological position, a philosophical position. What do you believe in? Strong leadership means that you must stand up and fight for what you believe in. Basdio Pan did it over many years. Ramesh Maharaj did for many years. Nirvan Maharaj for fewer years. I've been doing it for 37 years. Leadership that is prepared to stand up and fight what you believe in, as Wayne Kublai Singh has demonstrated to Trinidad and Tobago. Strong leadership means belief in values and principles. Values and principles which say that you must be there to do public good. That holding office is not what is important, but office is simply an instrument by which you can bring about change, and change to improve the well-being and lives of the ordinary people of Trinidad and Tobago. Strong leadership is about building consensus, especially in Trinidad and Tobago. It must mean a recognition of the differences and the conflicts that we have in our society. Because we don't have one Trinidad and Tobago. We have many Trinidad and Tobagos. West Moorings and Glencoe is not Barrackpore, and it is not Laventille. Charlotteville is not Union Village in Claxton Bay. Point Forte and La Brea is not Valsayn North or Valsayn South. And unless we speak truth to power and recognize our differences and our conflicts as leaders, we cannot offer vision and hope. But recognizing those differences and that conflict, leaders who are strong have to know how to build consensus and therefore forge a unity around a common vision, around a common set of values and principles and a philosophy. That is what is required. Leadership, strong leadership, must be prepared to listen and to hear the cries of ordinary people. Strong leadership must be respectful of everyone, regardless of who they are and what their status in life is. Whether they're on the beater, unemployed, and hustling on the dump, or driving a Porsche Cayenne. We must be respectful of everyone. Strong leadership must be about respecting the contributions of others who have gone before us. I was asked on television the other morning when I was talking about this forum, why do you want to be associated with Pastor Opande and Ramesh Maharaj and the past? And my response was that these gentlemen have made important contributions to Trinidad and Tobago, and that must be respected and regarded. And they have ideas about how to move us out of the predicament based upon their long experience. Proper leadership, good leadership, must put country before party. Not like the Attorney General when he went to Napa in October 2010 and said to assembled members of state boards that you are chosen because you are loyal and not because you are competent. Loyal to whom and for what? You cannot build a country on the basis of people who put party first or friend and family first. Strong leadership must be able to have policies that translate philosophy into practical things to be done and must be able to implement those policies. Strong leadership must be able to change the political culture of Trinidad and Tobago from the culture of race and religion and winner take all and who lose get out of management and get out of this, and you can't have a place in Trinidad and Tobago. Strong leadership must change that culture. Sisters and brothers, the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago says, and I want to quote, in the preamble, which is the section of the Constitution which is least paid attention to. It says, and I won't quote the whole thing, whereas the people of Trinidad and Tobago respect the principles of social justice and therefore believe that the operation of the economic system should result in the material resources of the community being so distributed as to subserve the common good, that there should be adequate means of livelihood for all, that labor should not be exploited or forced by economic necessity to operate in inhumane conditions, but that there should be opportunity for advancement on the basis of recognition of merit, ability, and integrity. And that we have asserted our belief in a democratic society in which all persons may, to the extent of their capacity, play some part in the institutions of the national life and thus develop and maintain due respect for lawfully constituted authority. Those two clauses in the preamble to the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago set out the belief that we should have an economic system that is fair and just, and that we have participatory democracy in which all can participate in the institutions of national life. That has not been the reality of Trinidad and Tobago from 1962 to the present time. We therefore have to work to build a movement of people in their communities and throughout this country who are prepared to come together to bring about the reality, or to bring into reality what we have affirmed in our Constitution. I want to end with two quotations from someone who I think the world over recognizes as a great leader, one who had vision, one who offered hope, one who was a strong leader because he stood for something, he believed in something, he stood for values and principles, he sought to build consensus, he was confident, he stood up and fought for what he believed in, he listened, he respected the views of all. That leader was Martin Luther King. And Martin Luther King said, and I quote, "The ultimate measure of a person is not where they stand in moments of comfort and convenience, but where they stand at times of challenge and controversy. We need leaders in this time and moment of challenge and controversy to stand up and be counted in Trinidad and Tobago. And then Martin Luther King said, and it is a position that we in the MSJ have adopted, we are determined to work and fight until social justice runs down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream. Thank you very much.